Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville of Alabama vowed to continue blocking the approval of military promotions due to the Pentagon's abortion policy. Tuberville's blockade is keeping hundreds from their promotions, including high-ranking officials, such as the leader of the United States Marine Corps, which is now without a permanent chief for the first time in over a century. The Alabama senator is using a procedure to slow approvals that are usually completed with a unanimous consent vote. The senator is pushing for the Defense Department to scrap its policy that gives time off and travel reimbursements to service members that have to travel out of state for abortion services. Tuberville, single-handedly, his stoppage is coming at a time when more than half of the current Joint Chiefs are expected to step down from their posts in the next few months without a successor in place. Take a listen to what the senator said yesterday about his actions.
I've got a great deal of admiration for General Smith. Earlier today, General Smith became the acting head of the Marine Corps. He is doing the same exact job which he has been doing for several years. The only difference is today he is an acting official. This has minimal effect of the ability to lead. There may be a delay in his planning guidance, and yet he cannot move into the commandant's residence, but there is little doubt about General Smith's ability to lead effectively. General Smith assured me that he was committed to keeping politics out of the military. And for me to vote for somebody, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Keep politics out of the military.
I mean, this is so shocking to me. Mike Barnicle, I've been hearing Republicans whine about how much they love Russia and how they love the Russian military, how the Russian military is manly and America's military is not because they're too woke and they're too concerned about social policy issues invading the military's readiness. That's all a lie. But of course, they project, or maybe it's confession, because it's exactly what Tommy Tuberville is doing here. The thought that he is he's being a cultural warrior and bringing a wedge issue into the United States Marine Corps to stop the Marines for the first time in 150 years from having a commandant to lead the Marine Corps is beyond shocking. And I really can't believe that other Republicans around Tommy Tuberville in the United States Senate, who are supposed to be the sane people, I can't believe that they're sitting by and letting this guy continue to do this.
Well, Joe, I mean, you know this better than anybody. This is the 2023 version of the Republican Party. Let's take on the intelligence community of the United States of America. Let's take on the FBI, the vaunted legal arm of the Justice Department. Let's take on the military. That's what Tommy Tuberville is doing. He can't even pronounce the words. As you just indicated, he said, you know, the commandant's house. It's the commandant's house.
Jeez.
And for the first time, as you pointed out, in over 150 years, the United States Marine Corps was without a commandant. Dave Berger, the commandant of the Marine Corps right now, he retires in a couple of weeks. And because Tommy Tuberville has decided that he knows more than anybody else about the defense of the United States of America, he has held up line promotions now for a couple of months. He'll probably continue to do it. And who in the Republican Party is really speaking out loud about it?
He's not, now, Mike, he's not saying that he knows more about defense. He's saying he doesn't want women to do what's legal.
Yeah.
Right.
For them to legally travel to another state, he is going to stop the United States Marine Corps from having a commandant for the first time in 150 years. Not for anything that has to do with America's readiness, not for anything that has to do with protecting and defending the United States of America. No, he's stopping the United States Marine Corps from having a commandant for the first time in 150 years because he doesn't want to allow women
to get health care,
to do what's legal, and that is go to a state where they can get an abortion if that's what they choose to get.
or medically need for their lives.
Or they need to do it for medical reasons. And it's the United States Marine Corps that he's declaring war against.
Yeah, well, it's not just the Marine Corps, though, Joe. I mean, there were hundreds of line officers who were due promotions, and they can't get those promotions because of Tommy Tuberville. And this is a guy who represents a state, an honorable, noble state, who has committed over the years, over the decades, hundreds of young people to the military in defense of this country. And he alone is standing against all of this progress because, as you said, the ability of women to travel to other states to maintain their health. That's what he's doing. And where are the Republican voices in the United States Senate speaking out loudly against this? They might be talking to him off the floor and everything like that. Where are they speaking out loudly and publicly about this obscenity?